It is now my pleasure to introduce our panelists to the stage. We've mixed things up a bit this year, and we have a few new speakers from recent years, as we're going to spend our time today focusing on development in McKinney today and tomorrow. So please help me welcome them to the stage. I'm first pleased to introduce Commissioner Chris Hill. Chris is a sixth-generation North Texan, a second-generation resident of McKinney and Collin County, and is serving his first term as County Commissioner for Precinct 3. Chris lives in McKinney with his wife, Laura, and 3 children, and he's active in the community as part of the McKinney Rotary, Kiwanis, Christ Fellowship, and he also serves on the board of Hope Resource Center of McKinney and TAPS Public Transit. Prior to his public service, Commissioner Hill served as a corporate accountant in both the profit and nonprofit sectors, earned a bachelor's degree from Texas A&M Commerce, an MBA from Webster University, a master's in accounting from UT Dallas, and a master's degree in pastoral leadership from Columbia Biblical Seminary. Please help me welcome Commissioner Chris Hill. I will not surpass your education background anytime soon, I am sure. Next, I am pleased to welcome back to the stage Dr. Carrie Israel. Dr. Israel serves as president of Collin County Community College District. Collin College is a multi-campus operation serving more than 53,000 students annually. Under his leadership, the college is nationally recognized for its outstanding and innovative programs. Collin was one of 12 community colleges nationwide selected by the Carnegie Foundation for Advancement of Teaching for its 2010 Community Engagement Classification. And in 2011, the college was named a Center of Excellence in Nursing Education by the National League of Nursing. He began his presidency at Collin in 1999, but prior to that served as a college system president for 3 systems in New Jersey, Illinois, and Colorado. President Israel received his Bachelor of Arts degree from Michigan State University and his Juris Doctorate from the University of Detroit Mercy Law School. We are very pleased to have with us Dr. Carrie Israel. New to our panel as well this year, I'm very pleased to welcome Jim Wiemeyer. Jim has served as the president and CEO of the McKinney Economic Development Corporation since last October. He's the Chief Economic Development Officer for the City of McKinney and is charged with developing economic development strategies and policies for business retention, expansion, and recruitment. Jim serves under the direction of the McKinney Economic Development Corporation Board, City Council, and works in concert with the City Manager's Office. Jim came to us from Lufkin, Texas, where he served as president of the Lufkin Economic Development Corporation and Lufkin-Angelina County Economic Development Partnership. He received his bachelor's degree from Southwest Texas University and his economic development studies with Texas A&M and the University of Oklahoma's Economic Development Institute. He serves on legislative and conference committees for the Texas Economic Development Council and is chair-elect of Team Texas. He's also served on various statewide TxDOT transportation committees. That's a lot of fun right there. Jim lives in McKinney with his wife, Holly, and has 2 children currently attending college. Please welcome Jim Wiemeyer. And last but certainly not least, I'm pleased to welcome our very own mayor, Mayor Brian Lockmiller. Brian was elected mayor of McKinney in 2009 and was re-elected to his mayoral seat earlier this year. He previously served 6 years on city council and 3 of those years as mayor pro tem. He's currently the managing partner at the law firm Lockmiller Higgins, a McKinney law firm specializing in family law. He's a graduate of Leadership McKinney, and in 2011 received a National Leadership Award from the Association of Leadership Professionals. He remains active on the chamber board with Stonebridge United Methodist, Sunrise Rotary, Relay for Life, and the American Cancer Society. Mayor Lockmiller earned his bachelor degree from Illinois State University and graduated from Case Western Reserve University School of Law. He and his wife Donna, who's also with us today, moved to McKinney in 1989 and have 3 children. Please help me welcome Mayor Brian Lockmiller. Gentlemen, have a seat. We're going to jump right into a lot of content that we have today, but before we do that, we have a short video presentation to share with the members of our audience to set the stage for our conversation today. So let's take a look at just how far we've come.
Well, I'm going to kick off. Can you all hear me? Oh, there you go. I'll kick this off. First of all, I was not the guy on the skateboard or on the bicycle, but
we tried that.
Yeah, and I do want to take a minute. Jody mentioned my wife Donna's here today, so I have to start out by telling you all today is our 26th wedding anniversary. So I want to recognize my wife Donna. There's nothing like celebrating an anniversary with about 500 of your closest McKinney resident friends. But anyway, the video, when I first saw this video, when it was put together, my first reaction was, really, was kind of wow, because you think about it, a lot of this stuff that's in the video has happened in the last 10 years, and I think it's real easy to forget where we were, to forget what 121 was like back when it was a two-lane asphalt road, and a lot of these development sites were nothing but greenfield sites, and we just have had a lot happen over the last 10 years. And, the good thing about that is what we see coming in the future, and what you see in this video. You recognize that we have new companies coming to McKinney every day. We have expansion of long-term corporate citizens that we'll talk about in a little while. Our unemployment rate in McKinney for 2012 going into this year is approximately 5%. And to put that in perspective, that's more than 2.5% below the national average, and is also below the state average. And we expect, with these new jobs coming online, that we'll see in excess of 1,000 new jobs created just in the next 12 to 14 months right here in our city. Just a few other points I wanted to bring up initially as it relates to our commercial tax base that really isn't shown. You see it in picture, but the content and the words really tell a story. We have, from 2012, non-residential permits in excess of $154 million, and we have commercial permits or non-commercial permits that are up over 46% from where they were just a year ago. We also are developing unique neighborhoods and unique developments, and you saw pictures of Adriatica, but we also have Tucker Hill. We have new development and redevelopment in East McKinney. We have Craig Ranch, we have Stonebridge Ranch. And so there's a lot of different opportunities for people that are moving to this community. And what we see from that is, again, if you're putting numbers to this equation, we're talking about in excess of $144 million in new residential permits just within the last 12 to 14 months. And for those of you that are in the real estate industry, statistically, we show that we have less than 2 months of inventory on the ground towards the end of 2012. So houses are selling here in the city. I want to talk a little bit about, we also obviously have quality of life opportunities. You saw the national recognition that we're getting with Money Magazine and a number of other awards that we received just in the last year. With the 100 Best Cities for Young People, the Boom Award from Live Healthy America for our health partnership with Baylor Hospital and Cooper Clinic. And of course, we've always been rated as one of the safest cities in America as well. And then lastly, what I want to talk about is just what is our policies and how are we doing this? One of the things we want to convey to you today is, as a community of leaders, council, our different groups, is we do have plans, we do have vision, and we have a process that we're trying to work through to make our city grow in the right way. And some of the things that we do as a council in looking at our development process that we've done over the last few years is we've really looked at our ordinances and looking for ways that we can streamline that development process, whether that be through the creation of overlay districts, whether looking at types of development that are coming into McKinney to where you don't have to come before the city council to get a variance for something that makes absolute sense along, say, the 121 corridor. We're looking at new zoning categories. We're looking at our use charts, because ultimately those types of things drive the development and the type of development that you get in a city. And then finally, we also are looking at our targeted business sectors that Mr. Wiemeyer will talk about. We do have targeted business sectors that we're trying to attract to our city, and every city does that. And you look at, recently I noticed the mayor of Dallas, for instance, is focusing on redevelopment and bringing residential into downtown McKinney or downtown Dallas. I always tell them it's great to have Dallas as a suburb of McKinney, but realistically, they only have about 15,000 residents that live in downtown Dallas. In talking with Mayor of Frisco, and naturally he's going to say that they're trying to attract professional sports and entertainment to Frisco, and they're going to have to say that if they're going to spend $115 million on a practice field. But all kidding aside, that's their focus. And McKinney has a focus also, and we have a plan for development in the future. My message really in leading off of this is that this is really our time. McKinney is primed for success. We're seeing a lot of infrastructure improvements. We look for expansion with Medical Center of McKinney. some of our healthcare resources that we have, Baylor Hospital, Victory Hospital, and it just shows that we are in the perfect spot right now to expand not just today but into the future. So I'm real excited about where we're going as a city. And the important thing here that we have to talk about, and I think everybody agrees with us up here, and I know our council agrees with it, we're really focusing on continuity, consistency, making sure that as we develop a plan and a vision that the community accepts and wants that plan and that vision, so that as our council changes, as the county commissioner courts change over time, that we continue that vision all the way out to build out whenever that happens, because we will be a 380,000 population city in the future. And so let's just stay on this path and keep going.
Thanks, Mayor. I appreciate that. That does really set the stage for how we approach development, and in the short time I've been here, the changes in the development process have been substantial, and I think they're certainly paying dividends. But we can't really move forward unless we have a strong foundation in our infrastructure. And Chris, could you talk to us about that a little bit? What's going on now and some of the things that we're going to have to make sure that we address to handle some of this growth?
You bet. As we see the long list of praise for the city of McKinney, that has attracted many folks to our town and will continue to attract many more to our town in the years to come. Texas State Data Center projects that we will hit a population of 1 million here in Collin County in year 2017, and that we will approach 4 million people in year 2050. And that's a lot of folks for us to bring in and to welcome into our neighborhood and make sure that we do that well so that we continue the balance that we have today. As Brian and our city leaders really focus on economic development and job creation and community development and quality of life, and as that is their primary task, my role as your county commissioner, together with our county judge and our colleagues in the commissioner's court, is really to come alongside and help further the infrastructure, the civil infrastructure that we need at the base level that the city can build upon. And for us here in McKinney, nothing strikes out from an infrastructure standpoint any louder than Highway 75. And I was struck, Jody, by the video. We show the picture of the courthouse and the black and white and all the folks down on the square, probably on a weekend as they're all coming, and they probably thought that was crowded back then. And once upon a time, maybe that was crowded. And we have a new definition of crowded now, and we have a new definition of development along 75. And so I want to give you a bit about what we have going on. Right now at Highway 75, we have 3 different segments under construction that you encounter every day or that you make intentional plans to get around every day. Highway 21 up to Highway 380, that portion, $108 million that we've invested in that segment from 121 up to 380. We're expecting a completion date on that project in July 2015, and couldn't come a day too soon. The next segment from Wilmouth Road up to Telephone Road, we're spending $68 million. And again, July 2015, we look forward to having that finished. And that will take us from 121, the northern boundary of McKinney, all the way through the city of McKinney, and we'll have Highway 75 improved and enlarged. It'll keep going from Telephone Road up north to Melissa Road, and that estimated completion date is in October of 2016. Altogether, though, that's an investment of $240 million on this main thoroughfare, this Highway 75 corridor, which is critical for us, not only for the portion of the city that's already developed along 75, but for the portion of the city that will develop north of 380 and the growth that is to come. We also have some other projects that I wanted to mention. Highway 75, south of 121, down through Allen and Fairview. That'll be our next big project beyond McKinney, but will certainly impact our businesses and our residents here in McKinney. We also have some other interchange projects coming up. Highway 455 at 75 and 543 at 75. Those are going to be significant projects where we're building the infrastructure, the interchange for the future expansion of 75 and those arterial roads that come off of it. Highway 380, you've seen the work along 380 as we've improved that from Custer Road over to Hardin Road, and in fact continued all the way through the county out to Farmersville. Custer Road, we've completed the construction there from Highway 121 up to 380. Lake Forest has been a significant investment for us through the city and north of 380. And then Highway FM 546, as it comes off of Highway 5 and continues east around the airport, is another major point of investment for us as we see these critical points of future development in the city, and we know that we've got to build the infrastructure to stay ahead of that. One other point that comes to the transportation topic, We know that as we look to bring 4 million people into, or to grow to 4 million people here in Collin County, we've got to be doing more about transportation than simply pouring more concrete. And so one of the things we've done actively here in the city and in the county in this last year, we've invited TAPS Public Transit to come and take over our transportation provision. The TAPS, based in Sherman, has been doing this for many years, and this year, the time was right. The council and the Commissioners Court both voted to bring TAPS in and provide trips for our residents, on-demand service and also commuter service. We have now on-demand daily service you can get through TAPS with a phone call. You can take the shuttle from the Gateway Center down to Darts Parker Road Station every morning and come back every evening. We have airport shuttle that goes from that same Gateway Center out to both of our major airports. And I just got a number from TAPS Public Transit yesterday. They served 450 trips. And that may not mean a lot until I tell you that when they started, July 1st, we were averaging about 100 trips a day. And now we're 3 months later at 450 trips a day. So I appreciate what they've done to come alongside us and help us meet that transportation need.
Absolutely. That's great. Lots of projects underway, and we're going to have some information to share with you after the program about some of those specifics of those so that you can keep up with them. Some of these infrastructure projects we all know seem like they take forever, but it really does require our constant attention. And some of those figures are just absolutely staggering when you're talking about 4 million people. And I'd like to just also mention that Brad Underwood, the TAP CEO, is with us here in the audience. Welcome. We appreciate having you here. Dr. Israel, can I turn to you? We had a meeting earlier this week and getting ready for this program, and I must have taken 9 pages of notes about all the new things happening at the college. So if you could help enlighten us a little bit on how we're going to keep up with this demand for growth and keep this educated workforce for the employees that we're going to need in the future.
I try to do that, and I only had 4 pages, so I'm going to borrow some from you. It's good to see all of you again. And when I was working in New Jersey and Illinois, I would ask you, Chris, from the drought, my driveway is all wrecked, so any extra concrete, bring it over. Now, that's just a joke. You can do that in New Jersey and Illinois and Chicago, but we can't do that in Texas, so I wouldn't ask you. Anyway, good to have our chairman here, Mac Hendricks. Really been leading the way for the institution. A lot of credit to the board and himself. Also, if you haven't met Dr. Sherry Schumann, she's running the Central Park campus. Stand up, Sherry. Come on. So they all see who we are. She's running our campus. And the person who's really running things at the college is Dr. Colleen Smith. Stand up, Colleen. She's also serving on and lives in McKinney. So as Jody said, we have 53,000 students. Projected 2020, about 6 years away, 65,099. I don't know where they get the 99, but 65,099. 40% of all the colleges in the United States have 2,500 or less. So we're going to grow more than double or triple what 40% of the colleges are. We're proud. We were just named again. Very difficult to get. Would thank Congressman Johnson, his involvement in his office. We have been named again a top military college in the United States, and we're grateful for that. We salute Congressman Johnson. We salute all the veterans and all the active service people. We have over 2,200 veterans. We have more veterans at our college than some of the universities combined, and we're very proud of that. And we just opened up our first Veterans Center, so we're excited. Major announcements coming at our college. November 14th, we'll be in D.C., and there'll be a major announcement. I can't tell any of you because you'll tweet it, okay? Okay, next. You all know this, but the internet continues to change how we work, where we shop, and so forth. Next. Look what happened with distance education. We have 10,633 students just taking classes via distance education. But our classes are hybrid. I'm going to set a context to show where we are and where we're going and how we are actively involved in the mix of economic development. Next, please. Look what's happened. Next, overhead, please. Thanks. By 2014, South Korea, You can read it. They're going to be totally digitized by 2015 in their entire school district. Some of this is good, some of it's bad, because we know you must be disconnected. I love seeing couples lately sitting at their restaurant, so much interaction. They're on this phone, the other one's on this phone, and it's just wedded bliss. I just like to see what's happening. Okay, next. According to Georgetown University, we get a lot of our studies from Rice, but I went outside to say, what's the other universities out of state saying about it? Look at this, it's amazing. In 2018, Texas will create 2.2 million job vacancies and new jobs in Texas. Where are they coming from? Next. What kind of jobs are they? I won't read it to you. You can see. It's IT, and it's healthcare. And it's those dreaded accountants. And I don't want to... Any accountants in the audience? Okay, let's count. Okay. Anyway, we're blending at the college. We're a national center in nursing, but we just became a national center in respiratory therapy also. I mean, this is quite an honor. And we have now a poly sonography program. There's only 3 in the entire state. The closest one to us is in Waco. Who knew that there's 80 sleep disorders? I have 11 of them. I don't know how many you have, but again, we have sleep labs. If you'd like to come over and sleep, we'll test you out. It's a serious problem, sleep disorders, and can lead to heart attacks and so forth. Next. It goes down to construction laborers. There's going to be, there's not a shortage now in teachers, but it's coming within 3 to 5 years. Next overhead. When I get done doing this presidency, I'm going to be an airplane repo person. I thought that was kind of cool. You get 10% on sales. These jets are $8-9 million, but you might die trying to, or be in a foreign prison. So I'm not going to repo anything in Syria, I can tell you that. Ethical, oh yeah, I couldn't get by the border. My last name's Israel, that's good. Okay. Anyway, a white hacker, they're called ethical hackers now. That's an oxymoron, I think, ethical hacker. But look, we have a national cybersecurity program. It's a it's a coast-to-coast project, and we recently had a bomb threat on Sunday, and we found the person in a nanosecond. I mean, why would you call a bomb threat to the cybersecurity center in the country? Okay, next. So in 2003, and here's the problem. In 2003, the United States was number 2 in degree attainment. Next. We're going to fall down to 19th. We've got to start doing and getting people to get degrees or certifications. Next, 2019. $1,000 person computer will have as much raw power as a brain, human brain, certainly mine. Computers are going to be embedded everywhere. They're embedded right now. Next. Most business transactions or information will be with a simulated person. I'm looking forward to that. For the people that are complaining to me, I could cut them off, I hope. You can read it. I'm not going to read it to you. It's technology is going to change things. They just announced, I predicted it 10 years ago, I was 10 years off, that Blockbuster is going to close. But look, a whole industry just closed like that because you can get it right on your TV. Next, we have cars that can park themselves now, If you have a lot of money, it'll parallel park for you. But they already have these on the drawing boards, and these will be the taxis in the future, and this is coming in 2019. Next, we have 2,500 graduate students at our higher education center, McKinney. What a resounding success for this area. Those are some of the programs we're offering. Next, our top transfer, this is per year, 3,000 students are transferring to UTD. You can read it. Oklahoma used to be on the list, now it's Arkansas. And again, I'm going to just clip through. Obviously, they're going to A&M and UT and so forth. Next, our weekend college. It's a dead asset on the weekend. So we've got 3,000 students taking classes just on the weekend. But it's not happening in McKinney. It's happening in Plano. Why isn't it happening in McKinney? And we should talk about that, because that's how some people want to learn. They don't want to do online. Next, which is the most exciting. The board has approved. We're starting in January. We're going to invest $41 million in a health sciences building at the Central Park campus. It's a 125,000 square feet building. We're going to have a 23,000 square foot conference facility, hold up to 1,100 people. Pogue Construction, thank you very much, will be doing it for us. Keep it local. A real multiplier for every dollar invested, the 41 million. Actual real, this is multipliers, $4 comes to the city of McKinney. That 2,500 at the Higher Education Center and the expansion of the Central Park campus allows 2,000 cars not to be on 75 daily from McKinney to Plano to the Spring Creek campus. Just when I said 2,000, next. There's the exterior view of the new health sciences. We are going to become the MD Anderson Mayo for healthcare training in the United States, and it's going to be in McKinney, Texas. That's the exterior. Next. That's the atrium. It's going to be a great facility. Next. Our simulation lab. We're already training people at the UNT Health Sciences. I'm over my time. I'm going to take one more minute. In Fort Worth. And we have people coming in from Mexico and Switzerland. Well, I think people with this simulation lab will be coming all over the United States. Next, that's our conference facility. And there's going to be a conference facility at the Sheridan. Listen, there's not enough conferencing facilities, even with this wonderful church, for what's happening in the growth. Next. However, we need to start thinking about consolidation and shared services and working on cloud applications all together, drive down our operational costs, keep cost effective. We have the lowest tuition in the state of Texas, one of the lowest tuitions in the United States, and our tax rate is the lowest it can be, 8 cents per $100 assessed valuation, and we owe it all to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Israel. I can't wait to see some of these projects online. It's so exciting about what you're doing and also building the capacity so we can serve more students. In addition to those projects that the college is doing, we have a number of other projects going on right now. So let's turn to those now if we can. And Jim, congratulations on your 1-year anniversary here in McKinney. We're very happy to have you on the team.
Thank you.
Would you mind kicking this section off for us and start talking about some of these details about these major projects that are underway?
Sure, although I thought I was just here for eye candy, but it was either eye candy or I had 3 people ask me if I was the mayor's bodyguard, and I just said, sure, that's what I'm doing here. Obviously, I've upset Jody because I have to follow Carrie, and I don't have my stand-up routine down today, but if you watch the video and heard some of the mayor's comments and Chris's comments and Dr. Israel's comments, which he'll scold me for later for not calling him Carrie, how do you not feel blessed to be in McKinney, Texas? I mean, seriously, there's so much going on here. To the mayor's point, I think it is our time. I honestly think that because of some of the things that we'll talk about today, McKinney, Texas is going to be talked about all over the country and over the world for the next 50 years. We're going to be one of the fastest growing communities. I think we're going to be one of the smartest growing communities. And that's because of the leadership that McKinney's been blessed with for so long. There's an old saying that some people have vision and other people are just seeing things. Luckily in McKinney, Texas, the leaders have vision. And we'll touch on a few of the things that show that today. One of the things I get asked a lot is, sure, there's a lot going on. We've got a lot of explosive growth. Is there a plan? Are there target industries you go after? Or do you just put out a wide net and just take all comers? McKinney's in a great position. We don't have to do that, to be perfectly honest. We do have target industries. We are welcoming to very broad base of businesses, but target industries aren't necessarily decided about what you want. Target industries oftentimes or generally to be successful, those are decided by what your assets are, what your capabilities are, what your workforce is. And in McKinney, one of the things that's so exciting is, you may not know, in McKinney, 92% of our residents have high school degrees. That is so far above the state national average, it's not even funny. Almost half of our residents have college degrees. And so those types of things are what lead into how we pick our target markets. Essentially, and they're up here, the ones that we aggressively go after with a rifle approach are healthcare, medical device manufacturing. That could include pharma, aerospace and aviation. We've got our own airport, our McKinney National Airport, that a lot of money and assets are going into right now. Corporate headquarters and corporate offices. When it comes to corporate headquarters, a lot of the rules change, and a corporate headquarters isn't going to locate where the executives don't want to live. It's just not going to happen. We are blessed to have an incredible community, and I think that's a real opportunity for us. Clean manufacturing and high tech. And I think as an example of the high tech and as an example of what I mentioned about our leadership having vision, and I'll give credit where credit's due, John Valencia on our staff and one of our emerging technology companies recently saw an opportunity to join forces, and MEDC has had a virtual incubator for several years where we would pay some rent offsets for high-tech companies with intellectual property trying to get started in their first office space. But we didn't have a bricks and mortar opportunity. Through their vision and bringing it to the board, and the board and council's vision of saying, man, this could be great for our community, we now have a bricks and mortar high-tech incubator in the cotton mill in McKinney. And the impressive thing about this is not that we have it. The impressive thing about this is that from zero to today, which is essentially 4 months, we have 20 high-tech companies in that space, in a shared space, in a collaboration space where they, sitting with no walls, are able to look at the guy next to him saying, I'm getting ready to go out for funding. You have any advice? And it's very exciting. We went from 0 people in that building to almost 100 people working in that building today, 20 companies. We're finding that the fact that the incubator's there is attracting other high-tech minds going, man, it's cool to be close to this. We're going to look to put something close to that. I say that to say there are a lot of really, really smart, really, really creative people in McKinney, and I think we need to understand how blessed we are for that to be the case. Some other recent successes that we've had in relation to our target industries, really any economic development program, the foundation is your business retention and expansion, because if you don't take care of the ones that are already in your community, you can't recruit companies fast enough to fill holes of people leaving. Plus, word gets out, quite honestly. We've had huge strides in both new business attraction and business retention and expansion, and they play off one another quite a bit. Raise your hand if you've heard of a company called Raytheon. Anybody ever heard of them? It's kind of a small shop. As you probably know, they moved their Space and Airborne Systems headquarters to McKinney within the past couple of months. That's a $6 billion business unit of Raytheon that has now moved its headquarters out of El Segundo, California to McKinney, Texas. The transition was flawless. They're very excited to be here. Great corporate partners. All their C-suite executives that run that $6 billion asset are now in McKinney, Texas, which puts us on the map for other growth within their corporation for years and years to come. Another story that we brag about to everybody, and one thing that we think is very important, and this has been in McKinney way before I ever got here, and which is one of the attractive things about the community, is how important our existing industry is to us. And Encore Wire, believe it or not, started as a small shop in McKinney, Texas not too long ago. Now, with 2 million square foot under roof and 1,200 employees, they're one of our largest employers. They're one of the largest in North America at what they do. We have had 10 different incentive agreements with them as they've continued to expand. So our message to corporations is, when you come to McKinney, we don't sign a contract and forget about you. We're in it for the long haul with you. If you start small, that's great. If you have a high end, we're going to work with you for the rest of time. They're a huge example in Sales Point. Anybody in here ever heard of the Gateway site? It's kind of flown under the radar the last few years. But Emerson Process Management, a company who's been in McKinney 50 years, we're looking for a new location for their headquarters. We're seriously looking outside of not only McKinney, but outside of Texas. They've got a beautiful new building at the Gateway site that their employees are in. They're operating. They're incredible corporate partners again. And so those are the types of projects that, where business pension expansion really turns into big things and exciting things, as well as some of the new projects. Western Green Tech, which is a company that fewer of you have heard of until they named McKinney their North American headquarters. They're a global 500 company out of Taiwan, and due to the leadership of the mayor and Abby Liu on staff and city manager, the MEDC board and council, we went up against our largest suburb in Dallas. We were the two finalists, and we beat them because we were aggressive, we were business friendly, we went after it, we were proactive, and that's a company that down the road, there are going to be a lot of exciting things come out about, and they're going to do a lot of very exciting things for our community and help us grow that segment of international business right here in McKinney, Texas. So that's all within the past year. We're obviously pretty blessed and need to not forget that. And I think some of the things moving forward that ties into with the Gateway site. Gateway site's about 90 acres. We're very proud and happy to have Dr. Israel and his group with the higher ed building as an anchor tenant. We obviously have Emerson's headquarters on the other end as an anchor tenant. We're working on, which is back under construction, our hotel conference center. And we have about 52 more acres that we're in the process of master planning to turn into a development that everybody in this room will be proud to have at the southern entrance of our city. And I think, Mayor, you want to talk a little bit about the hotel and conference center? And
I didn't think you were going to let me talk. I mean, just like, I haven't been that quiet for that long, and I don't know how long. But
your wife paid me.
Yeah, well, All right. Yeah, I mean, I just want to add a few things. I mean, realistically, we have those great projects, and we have a lot of other great projects, but this all goes back to our strategic planning. And back in 2010, our city council at the time, we really sat down and talked about what are our top priorities from the standpoint of moving the city forward. And we wanted to really focus on economic development in that retreat. And we identified the Gateway site because, as you all know, that's been a project that's had trouble in the past, and we need to have resolution in that project. We identified the airport as a major economic engine, and we needed to work on that. And we needed a corporate center. McKinney did not really have a designated corporate center identified, similar to like what you have with Hall Office Park or down by Legacy Town Center. And that was a major goal of ours to identify that. And we worked on that for 2 years, along with working on the Gateway site. And now that we're ready to build a hotel, conference center, I know we're going to do it. We're starting construction December 10th. We will have permits for the shell, and that will be underway, and we'll finish that project by February of 2015 for the hotel conference center. And we already started the corporate center project over in Craig Ranch, and I think we have some information on that on a slide, maybe not. But that's a very important asset to us as well, because as you know, to draw corporations to your community, one of the things that they want to know is where are you in proximity to major airports, and what is your mobility in and out of your community to have that type of business. And with 121 being completed, and you can now get to DFW within 30 minutes, unless you're driving with my son, then you can get there in about 20. And that was a major draw. And so the city of McKinney made a commitment to put infrastructure into the Craig Ranch Corporate Center. We invested about $5 million. You can see the road that's being built out there. We're going to have a water feature that's built out there. And the end result of that is the developer, and in Craig Ranch, they've come to the table with the projects. And as you see, there's already construction going up with a new office building. It's an office building being constructed by Van Trust. It's 120,000 square feet. It's a $20 million investment just in their first phase. We also have Columbus Realty doing a mixed-use project off of Alma Road. And so right now, just in the Craig Ranch Corporate Center, you have in excess of $100 million in new construction underway to kick off what we hope to be competitive with Frisco, with Legacy Town Center right here in McKinney. You know, a lot of this, and Jim mentioned Wistron and mentioned Emerson and these other projects we have going on. This is all because we have good collaboration and good cooperation amongst all of our entities. It's not just the City Council, it's not just the EDC, it's the private entities, it's the Chamber, it's the business community. Everybody's working together to achieve the same goal. And that's one of the things that really brought Wistron to McKinney. When we started off on that project, we were one of 25 cities being considered in 2 states. And as Abby would tell you, we were dead in the water on more than one occasion. We were not the selected city all the way until the very end, and we continued to fight. And it was through the support of everybody, support of Ken Paxton when he was our state representative, Scott Sanford, our current state representative, because there were environmental issues we had to work through. We had support from our council. We had to have a trade mission to meet with their board of directors out over in Taiwan. And we went there to meet with them to explain why should you be in McKinney, Texas. And 2 weeks before myself and our deputy city manager and Abby went to their headquarters, the city of Dallas had gone to Taiwan with about 20 people. They had representatives of their chamber, they had the county judge, they had a whole, just a lot of people there to say, come to South Dallas, come to our region, we've got something that we can offer you. And yet, despite all that, we were able to convince them to be in McKinney, and that was a great thing for us. The airport, that's another major project for us. That was on our goal, part of our goals in economic development. And as you know, we are now closing tomorrow on the acquisition of the vertical assets at the airport. And that's going to provide a lot of opportunities for this city. And I know it's a lot of money and it's a big investment, but the reality is our city has been investing in that airport for a number of years, going way back before I was even on city council. And then over the last 10 years, we've invested, our EDC put in over $7.5 million into the runway. The city was subsidizing the airport at about $600,000 per year. And through this acquisition, we will now have the benefit of an income stream and the benefit of having really a 1 point of negotiation for development of future corporate aviation. So there's a lot of opportunities at that airport that I think are going to be a benefit to us. And I know Jim has some data in terms of what the economic return is on corporate aviation, because it's very significant.
Yeah, it's amazing that the impact, as the mayor said, for general aviation. A lot of people think of general aviation as smaller planes and kind of community airports, but the FAA did a study that showed that these regional airports have an average of about $44 million a year of economic impact on their areas. And that's not necessarily even nationally recognized airports like ours. That is a general aviation airport, excuse me. And then in Texas, the GA has created over $14 billion in economic impact. That's a big deal. You don't have to build schools and extend sewer lines for jets. And they're a huge asset to our community. And I think that's why we see the airport as a huge economic driver for our entire region.
You're out of time.
Let's just build on a couple of these projects, because obviously there is a lot going on and keeping it all straight is difficult. But Dr. Israel, can you just remind everybody, the college has an investment at Gateway, and that's the center, your higher education center. Can you just really quickly talk about that partnership with the four-year institutions and the degree programs that we're offering there, and how you feel like this Gateway development is going to parallel what the college is doing?
Sure. We have a unique partnership. No other community college, there's 50 of them in the state. We have 10 pre-admissions or simultaneous enrollment with Baylor, Texas A&M. Okay, whoop, whoop. No Texas A&M people? Thank you. Texas Tech, UT Austin, I can go on and on. Austin College and so forth. And when we're working with companies and making presentations on behalf of the chamber, and and others. They want to see a seamless system. They want them to not only have the associate degree, they want them to go and get a baccalaureate degree. We didn't get legislation passed this last time of having baccalaureate degrees in our health sciences area, even though our hospitals want magnet status, which means 80% of their nurses have to have a baccalaureate degree. Critical shortage, 74,000 by 2020 of nurses in Texas. The good news, they have a study committee. The good news is that we're on the study committee. And the good news is we're looking for Representative Sanford to help us and move it forward so that we will have baccalaureate programs here also. Collin County is the largest county in the United States that doesn't have a four-year public. There's no four-year public going to come here because the state doesn't have $500 million to put in. But we can keep moving forward on what we do and have these solid partnerships. The Higher Education Center is critical to business and industry, and it's critical because it's on 121, and people can get to it quicker.
Good. And Chris, can you talk a little bit about, you talked about infrastructure, and we obviously work so closely with the county on that, but where's the bridge there between development and infrastructure, and how does that all play together?
I think there's a real synergy between the entities that are up here represented on the stage today as folks are looking to, companies are looking to relocate to McKinney. They want to know, first of all, can my employees get to work? And then can my product get to market? And so bringing along the infrastructure development is key. And for each of you that have invested in this community with your businesses, you want to know those same things. Is the infrastructure going to continue to be there to support your business and to support your family? So it's critical for us to bring that. What I love is the other side of that. When I hear about the city saying, listen, if we can bring those jobs to McKinney, that takes those people off of the highway. And if we can have those students at the McKinney campus, they don't have to drive to Plano. And so when I hear that, I appreciate that partnership back with the county as we're trying to make sure we've got infrastructure in place for all of those travelers. And if we can keep people working and living and recreating in their own community, it helps us both ways.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of these projects that we talked about, I think Raytheon and Emerson in particular, you're doing continuing education partnerships with them now.
Yes, we have ongoing training partnerships with about 46 companies right now, Raytheon, and a lot of companies. We're a national training center for Cisco, one of the only security training center for Cisco, one of 9. And again, all the local businesses, we're doing training, and we can access Texas Workforce Commission dollars for any companies coming in here and startups and for training, and that's very important. We've always received millions of dollars from the Texas workforce because of what we've been doing with our other contract training.
Mm-hmm. Can you just touch on for a minute how the city and the council approaches making investment decisions? Because it's really difficult to look at, we're going to build a corporate center, we're going to invest in the vertical assets at the airport. How do we go about making those decisions?
Well, one of the things that we do as a council, and I'm really proud of the way our council operates in terms of looking at projects and looking at budget, and our main focus is what is the return on investment that the city will receive as a result of these projects. And sometimes that return on investment may be revenue generation, sometimes it's job creation, but obviously job creation leads to increased sales tax dollars. People buy houses, they shop in our retail centers. And we also look at our budget and how does this impact our budget, because obviously one of the things that we are concerned about, and our council looked at it this year, is our tax rate. And one way to lower your tax rate, and I appreciate the county lowered their tax rate this past year, but one way to do that is to increase your revenue stream so that you can give that back to the taxpayers over time through tax rate reduction. And our city manager and our finance team came to us this year, for instance, with a forecasted budget over the next 5 years that we asked for. It's up here on the screen right now. And we did. We said, you bring us a plan that would allow us to lower our tax rate over the next 5 years. And essentially, if we continue to grow at the rate we're growing, we continue to invest in good projects, and we continue to maintain well-balanced reserves, we have a plan where we will be able to lower our tax rate 4 out of the next 5 years at about a half cent per year, so that hopefully by 2017 we're at 57 cents per $100 versus the 58.5 that we are today. And to put that in perspective, in 2004 we were almost 60 cents per $100 evaluation. So we do have a plan to be competitive from a a fiscal standpoint as well, and I think that that's very important. And we're doing all of that while maintaining a AAA bond rating, while continuing to invest in projects like the Hotel Conference Center, continuing to invest in quality of life projects like what you've heard us talk about with an aquatic center, and bringing new facilities here like the new PSA facility and all the parks. All of those things are happening, and they are causing people to want to live here, spend money here, bring revenue to this city, which ultimately we hope to give back through tax reductions over the next several years.
One thing that I appreciate in working here is that we as a team really appreciate and understand the importance of our private sector partnerships. And we can't move forward with any development in the city without that. And I just wanted to recognize and thank David Craig with Craig Ranch and his team who's here with us today. We appreciate the many years of investment and time that you're putting into the city. We don't want to kill you with stats and data today, but there's a couple here that I'd like to bring up on the screen just as reminders before we head to our next section of the program. And one of the things that we alluded to was population and the growth that we're going to experience and what we have to be prepared for. So right now, the population in McKinney, if we can bring that up, is just over 140,000 people. That has basically almost doubled in the last 10 years. And we need to remember also that our build-out population is over 380. So there is a significant amount of growth ahead of us that we need to be prepared for. And out of that growth, 50% of it is going to be north of 380. Is that correct, Mayor? Yes. So here's the population trend that we've seen, our build-out, and then what we're looking at for 2020 and 2025. And then, Chris, can you talk a little bit more, that staggering number that you threw out for county population, about where we're going with that?
We do see that countywide, the reality is Texas leads the nation. You know this as well as I do. Texas leads the nation in being foremost in job creation and energy production, economic development, and people want to be here. And in Texas, McKinney leads the way for quality of life, and people want to be here in McKinney. And so as the state grows, the city is going to continue to expand and absorb much of that. We are projected, again, like I said earlier, projected to hit 1 million people in the county at 2017 and move on towards 4 million by 2050. As we do that, you can see the graph behind, the map behind those, that centers of urban development are going to continue to take over the county and expand northward.
And we have one more that just reiterates the college growth figures that we had talked about. Dr. Israel? Maybe?
Yes, well, I already talked about it. You know, we're projected to, just in a few years, to be at the 65,099. Again, that's only on what existing programs that we haven't, that we're offering that we haven't even thought of yet. And we are in the process of creating a rural healthcare hub to see how we can really have affordable healthcare. And the base would be here in McKinney, and we would extend out on the eastern portion of the county. We're looking at some other things I cannot talk about, real high demand areas that Texas needs desperately, and so do we. And with that, we'll even have more growth as a college. And we also have a AAA bond rating, but we haven't issued a bond since 2001 because we pay as you go. We will keep the tuition the lowest, and we will keep the tax rate at 8 cents per $100 assessed valuation, which is an average home of $200,000, $160, so you don't pay my salary. Thank you.
Okay. Brian, one of the things that you talk about a lot is celebrating our successes. And obviously, we just talked about a lot of things that we have to be thankful for and we want to celebrate. And a lot of active projects. But one of the things that we also want to share with our audience before we leave today is what's next. What are the other things that are coming down the line that really are going to feed into that vision that they need to know about? Would you talk to us about that a little bit?
Sure. I think that's, I know we're getting late in the day and everybody wants to get back to work, but one of the things that we wanted to communicate to our community is what do we have coming down the road and what is our vision for this city? And that's why we started out this presentation really to give you a retrospective view of where we've been, pre-development. And we have some slides to show you, but our goal really is to move forward in a way that we're building a balanced community, both from an economic development standpoint and a quality of life standpoint. And we're doing that through a number of projects. I mentioned the airport. That's a big project for us in the future. This is a picture of the McKinney Air Center, as it's called today, and we'll see a lot of development out there, and we hope that it'll be a regional hub for corporate aviation as we move into the future. We also have a picture of a schematic of interchange US 75 at El Dorado. I know it doesn't look like this now, but this is what it will look like in the near future. And we'll have a letter going out to a lot of the businesses in that area because we've met with TxDOT recently to hopefully get them to expedite that project to help out around that area. We have the gateway concepts. This is a artistic rendering of the hotel conference center, both the front and the courtyard area. We have a couple of other pictures, the interior and exterior. And this project, as I said, is just part of the 90-acre gateway site. It's about 12 acres, and it will be under construction in December. We also have a showing of, that's essentially the development plan that the council's been looking at in terms of the overall 90-acre site with a combination of mixed use, retail, restaurants, of course the college, the hotel conference center, Emerson, and space for other offices that may develop in that area. So this is generally a plan that we're looking at for that area. We have the Medical Center of McKinney. This is the McKinney Medical District. We actually approved a plan through a land plan really over a year ago for future development adjacent to the hospital. And again, this is just to give you a picture and a view of what's possible in the city, because we're looking for areas where you can both live and work. And of course, there's already a lot of garden medical offices over in that area as well, but there's also going to be lifestyle centers and restaurants and the ability to live in that area. We have the Craig Ranch Corporate Center. That top picture is if you go in their information center, that's essentially their proposed design at build out of what that area will look like. The building down at the bottom of that picture is a rendering of what the current construction will look like upon completion of the Van Trust corporate office building. Next slide. And again, that top picture there is essentially office mixed-use development that is part of what construction with the Columbus Realty Group. And then, of course, the bottom picture is a look at our Veterans Memorial and potential development through there. So there's a lot of future possibilities, a lot of plans as it relates to our corporate center. And when you think about this Craig Ranch development, it's we're talking about 8,000 residents there today. The corporate center itself, 135 acres, and then of course there's a lot of other development, including the Traxxas Construction and other companies that are looking in that area. We have a plan for city-owned properties in downtown. This map's hard to see, but those red dots are areas where property that's already owned by the city of McKinney. And the good thing is we're not just using that property to build government offices. We're looking at opportunities for redevelopment. We're looking for opportunities to expand our residential and commercial opportunities in the downtown area, because I think it's important to point out that as we grow outward north of 380, that one of the hallmarks of McKinney's identity and what really brings a lot of these accolades that we've received is our historic downtown. And we are committed to making sure that historic downtown remains vibrant. If you can go to the next slide. These are just some of the renderings. This is a rendering from one of the companies that were discussing development of the 9-acre site where the old courthouse used to be, which currently looks like a nice place to play soccer. But there will be development on that site. And next slide. And again, these are just renderings from the ZenStar development that we just approved Tuesday night. The city manager began negotiations with ZenStar development and then also in-town homes. Next slide. This is a rendering that In-Town Homes provided for some of the residential development that they think that we can bring into the downtown area to bring more people and more business into our downtown. Go ahead, next slide. The Aquatic Center, you talked about that a little bit earlier, and again, that part of that balance of your community is not only economic development, but quality of life. our Community Development Corporation was given this project in January of last year. They've already come before us with a plan, with the opportunity to begin construction in late 2015, early 2016. And the plan calls for a 79,000 square foot facility with both indoor competitive pool as well as outdoor recreational facilities. And this is just some renderings of what potentially could be built with the aquatic center, including some meeting rooms, fitness facilities. That's a possible entryway there. This facility here is the PSA facility. I've received a lot of questions about why PSA in McKinney. Well, the reality is this is the opportunity to bring 90,000 square feet of recreational use to our community without us having to spend any money. You know, they're building the facility. Our CDC is going to provide a loan of $3 million that will be paid back over 4 years. It's a model that they've followed in other cities. This is a picture of what they built in Murphy, and the bottom picture is an example of what types of facilities they will have there. And the plans as of right now would be to locate this close to where the aquatic center would be. Next slide. This is the rendering of the Collin College Health Science Center that Dr. Israel Carey talked about earlier. We're very excited about our partnership with Collin College, and our council over 2 years ago, made a commitment, and we sent a letter to the college saying we want you to be our partnership in higher education for the foreseeable future. We think that's the best model for this community. It's already bringing dividends with the higher education center and the number of contracts that they have with universities and the ability to get advanced degrees, and not just 2-year degrees, but 4-year degrees and degrees beyond that. So we are committed as part of our vision to continue to work with Collin College to be competitive in the higher education area for our community. Next slide. Northwest sector development, what that really means to y'all is anything north of 380 and actually west and a little bit east of 75. One of the things that we're looking at, everybody asks, when are you going to have retail in McKinney? Regional retail. Well, the reality is, in order to have regional retail, first of all, you have to have the mobility, which we'll get through the expansion of 75. You have to have rooftops, which obviously we'll have with 385,000 people living here at build-out. And you also have to be far enough away from other retail centers to make yourself competitive and to bring those businesses to you. This is a rendering of a potential retail development that we could have in McKinney, north of 380 at the Weston Road area, with construction occurring up there. But obviously we have to get that infrastructure in place and we have to build that road, and we hope to see that coming in the near future too. So we do have a retail strategy that we're working on as well. Next slide. Collins Square, this is a project that we just recently approved. It's going to be across from the Collin County Courthouse. It'll be just south of the Collin County Courthouse, and again, you're looking at a mixed-use development with residential, retail, office, restaurant. And the concept behind this, the reason that this works for the developer that's bringing this to our community is the fact that we have all the county employees that we have in the county center up there with the courthouse, the commissioner court's office. We have an employee base up there that's very significant, and that's what drew them to Collins Square. So that's a future project as well. Next slide. That's it. Okay. Anyway, my message to y'all, and I said this last year and I'll say it to you again, we have a lot of great things happening in this city, and we are going places, and our time is now. But now more than ever, it's important that we celebrate our successes and we talk about these positive things. Not every decision is an easy decision, not every goal is an easy goal to attain, but we are all ambassadors to the city of McKinney, whether it be through the people you meet in work, through your travels. And let's start celebrating those successes, and let's encourage these projects, and let's make these things happen. This is a great time to be a resident of the city of McKinney. I love it here. I love being your mayor, and I think we're going to see a lot of great things happening, not just now, 5 years from now, but over the next 10 to 15 years. We're building a city right now. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Brian, and thanks to all of you for being here, for your interest in where we're going in our development and being active in our community so that we can make these things happen. There's so many people I need to thank. I'll try and keep it very brief. I want to thank all of our panelists because they work really hard to try and pull this all together to you, and it's a lot of fun working with all of you. I appreciate your hard work for our community. I also want to thank the events and communications teams that help pull all the details of this together, as well as our volunteers and ambassadors and our staff. Thank you all so very much. A couple of things that we want to just let you know about. Shown on the screen just a minute ago, we want you to join the conversation. We want you to participate. We want to share your thoughts. So if you could, on Facebook and Twitter, when you're talking about the community, go ahead and share #MyMcKinney. Let's continue to talk about all the great things that we love about McKinney and share that with so many other people outside of McKinney as well. The city launched a brand new format to their annual report. There's a little highlight of it on your table. The city very nicely did those great license plate holders for us. Thank you so much. And this talks about the annual report. The annual report this year is an electronic format. You're really going to love all of the information that they pulled together. It was a huge project, but there's interactive links, there's video, there's lots that you can explore to learn about there. So please go ahead and take a look at that. We also want to make sure that you're aware that at the Veterans Memorial on Saturday, we'll have a ceremony, and we'd love to invite the entire community to celebrate and be there for that as well. Thank you. I think I've covered everything. Thank you all again. Thank you for your patience with our timeline today, and we will see you all at the next event.